we discussed about deadlock. Deadlock means a process holding a resources and it's not leaving that resources which is used for the other process. The other remaining processes cannot access the resources presently holding by the other process. When this situation is called deadlock. Let us see what is the content today. System model, deadlock characterization, methods for handling deadlocks, deadlock prevention, deadlock avoidance, deadlock detection, recovery from deadlock will be discussed in today's class. Let us discuss about the deadlock problem. A set of blocked processes, each holding a resource and waiting to acquire a resource held by another process in the set. Example, system has two tape drives. P1 and P2 each hold one tape drive and each needs another one. This situation is called deadlock. Example, semaphores A and B initialized to 1. Here you see wait A and wait B. Wait B and wait A. What is the operation of wait A? Wait A is decrements. Wait A is decrements. Means 1 is decremented to 0. And wait B operation, still if you decrement, 0 will become negative. So it is called deadlock operation. So these two processes, if this atomic operation, if you run like this, wait A and wait B both will decrement. Wait A decrements and again wait B, it cannot decrement. So it leads to the deadlock state. Let us see the bridge crossing example. Traffic only in one direction. Each section of bridge can be viewed as a resource. If a deadlock occurs, it can be resolved if one car backs up or preempt resources and roll back. So one car should be removed. Several cars may have to be backed up if a deadlock occurs. This is starvation. This situation is called starvation. System model. Here R1, R2, R2 and so on Rm resource types. It may be CPU cycles, memory space, IO devices. Each resource type Ri has Wi instances. For example, Ri as if R1 is a printer resource type. Then suppose in the R1 printer resource type, suppose we have 10 printers are available. Then Wi is equals to 10. So printers are printers. How many available? 10 are available. So 10 are instances. Each process utilizes a resource as follows. One is request, use, release. Any resource a process wants, it requests for a resource. After getting that request, it uses. After using, it releases that particular request. Next we will see deadlock characterization. Deadlocks can arise if 4 conditions hold simultaneously. These 4 conditions occur simultaneously then we can say that deadlock has occurred. First one is mutual exclusion. Only one process at a time can use a resource. Mutual exclusion, only one process at a time can use a resource. Okay, any resource can be used by one process. Hold and wait. A process holding at least one resource is waiting to acquire additional resources held by other processes. As we seen in the P1, P0, P1, 2 processes, each have one resource, still it want another resource, but it forms a circular ring. It's called a deadlock. Third one is no preemption. A resource can be released only voluntarily by the process holding it after that process has completed its task. Next, fourth one characterization is circular wait. There exists a set P0, P1 and so on P0 of waiting processes such that P0 is waiting for a resource that is held by P1. P1 is waiting for a resource that is held by P2 and so on. Pn-1 is waiting for a resource that is held by Pn, and P0 is waiting for a resource that is held by P0. See that this is we are forming a circle. Each one is holding and waiting for other one. Then if all these happens, conditions happen simultaneously, then we can say deadlock occurred deadlock or deadlock arised in the system. Let us see the resource allocation graph. For given resources, there are so many processes are competing to get the access. Now let us see this graph, resource allocation, how resources are allocated to the requesting process. We will show it in a pictorial representation. Here a set of vertices V and a set of edges E, V and E. V is partitioned into two types, vertices P1, P2, P3, the set consisting of all the processes in the system, where R is resource type in the system, R1, R2, Rn. These resource types may be CPU, memory, printer, all these comes under resource types. Request edge, direct edge means P1, particular P1 process requesting RJ resource type. When this is assignment edge, direct edge, this resource is allocated to P1, PI. That for example, request edge is process P1 wants printer. Here in assignment, printer is allocated to process PI. That is the meaning in this picture. This is resource allocation graph. Process is represented with a circle. Resource type with 4 instances. Suppose resource type is printer and it's having 4 printers means there are 4. PA requests instances of RJ. Instances of RJ means any one of the printer in the RJ. Now PA is holding an instance of RJ. Out of 4, one is allocated to PJ. This is called resource allocation graph representation. Example of a resource allocation graph. Let us see. See here. P1 wants R1. See, R1 only one resource. So P1 wants that R1 resource. But R1 is right now with whom? Right now it is with the P2 process. Now P2 want R3 process, R3 resource. But right now R3 with the P3. Okay, my dear friends. Now let us see. This R2 have two resources. One resources of R2 is assigned to P1 and one resources of R2 is assigned to P2. Where R4 having three resources still not assigned to any one of the process. Resource allocation graph with a deadlock. See that how a deadlock happens in this diagram. P1 want R1 but R1 is not available, it is with P2. P2 wants R3, P2 wants R3, R3 is P3, but P3 want any one of these, but both are with P1 and P2. See, everyone wants some resource, but it is occupied or accessed by some other process. This is called a deadlock. When there is a cycle formed in this graph, then it is called deadlock. We can say that deadlock is present in this graph. If it is a cycle formed, we can say the deadlock. See how it is deadlock formed. P1, P2, P4 like this. Then we can see that deadlock is presented in this system. Resource allocation graph with a cycle but no deadlock. If we see all the cycles cannot form a deadlock. In this case, resource allocation graph with even though cycle is there, it is no deadlock. If you see here, P1 wants any one of this. This resource is P2. This resource is with P3. P3 want this and P4 want this. So suppose P4 is given up, then it will be given to the P3. Okay, because even though cycle is formed, every cycle will not form a deadlock. Basic facts. If a graph contains no cycle, that means no deadlock. Graph contains a cycle if only one instance per resource type, then deadlock. If several instances per resource type, possibility of deadlock. These are the facts we should consider. If a graph contains no cycle, no deadlock. If graph contains a cycle, means if only one instance per resource type, then deadlock. Deadlock must happen. If several instances per resource type, possibility of deadlock. Deadlock may happen or may not happen. Methods for handling deadlocks. Ensure that the system will never enter a deadlock state. Methods for handling deadlocks. Ensure that the system will never enter a deadlock state. Allow the system to enter a deadlock state and then recover. Ignore the problem and pretend that deadlocks never occur in the system. Just used by most operating systems including Unix. Deadlock prevention. Restrain the ways request can be made. Mutual exclusion. Not required for shareable resources. Must hold for non-shareable resources. Hold and wait. Must guarantee that whenever a process requests a resource, it does not hold any other resources. Require process to request and be allocated all its resources before it begins execution, or allow process to request resources only when the process has none. Low resource utilization, starvation possible. No preemption. If a process that is holding some resources requests another resource that cannot be immediately allocated to it, then all resources currently being held are released. Preempted resources are added to the list of resources for which the process is waiting. Process will be restarted only when it can regain its old resources as well as the new ones that it is requesting. Next, in deadlock prevention, circular wait. Impose a total ordering of all resource types and require that each process requests resources in an increasing order of enumeration. We'll discuss about deadlock avoidance, how to avoid deadlock. Requires that the system has some additional a priori information available. Means a process information should be available. Simplest and most useful model requires that each process declares the maximum number of resources of each type that it may need. Beforehand, process should know how many resources it is using. A deadlock avoidance algorithm dynamically examines the resource allocation state to ensure that there can never be a circular wait condition. If circular wait condition occurs means deadlock occurs. Resource allocation state is defined by the number of available and allocated resources and the maximum demands of the processes. We'll see what is a safe state. When a process requests an available resource, system must decide if immediate allocation leaves the system in a safe state. System is in a safe state if there exists a safe sequence of all processes. The sequence is like this: P1, P2 and so P1 is safe if for each Pi the resources that Pi can still request can be satisfied by currently available resources plus resources held by all the Pj which it's asking. If Pi resources needs are not immediately available, then Pi can wait until all Pj have finished. It is wants resources, that resources are right now with Pj. When Pj is finished, Pi can obtain needed resources, execute, return allocated resources and terminate. Whatever Pi wants it gets, after that it executes and terminates. When Pi terminates, Next process in the line can obtain its needed resources and so on. Discuss now. If a system is in safe state, means no deadlocks. If a system is in unsafe state, possibility of a deadlock. Unsafe state. Avoidance ensures that a system will never enter an unsafe state. Deadlock avoidance means we should see that a system should not enter into a unsafe state. Safe, unsafe and deadlock state. This is a state. All unsafe states are not deadlock. See this diagram. All unsafe states are not deadlock. This is the safe, unsafe and deadlock demarcation. Resource allocation graph algorithm. Claim edge Pi to Rj indicates that process Pj may request resource Rj represented by a dashed line. Claim edge. Claim edge converts the request edge when a process requests a resource. When a resource is released by a process, assignment edge is converted into a claim edge. There is a difference between assignment edge and claim edge. Resources must be claimed a priori in the system. In the beginning only it should be claimed. Resource allocation graph. Now here in this diagram, R1 is holding by P1, but P2 wants R1. Okay, this is the dashed lines. P1 wants R2 and P2 also wants this resource. Unsafe state in resource allocation graph. This is the unsafe state in resource allocation graph. Here P1 holds R1 and P2 wants R1 resource and R2 resource is with P2. Now P1 wants R2 resource. Let's see the banker's algorithm. Multiple banker's algorithm is applicable for multiple instances. Each process must have a prior claim of maximum how many it is using. When a process requests a resource, it may have to wait. When a process gets all its resources, it must return them in a finite amount. This is the algorithm. Let n is equals to number of processes and m is equals to number of resource types available, vector of length m. If available, there are k instances of a resource type Rj. Max, it's a matrix. The processes Pi, Pj, Pi may request at most k instances of resource type Rj. Allocation n into m matrix again. If allocation is equals to k, then Pi is currently allocated k instances of Rj. This is a need matrix, n into m matrix. If need Ij is equals to k, then Pi may need k more instances of Rj to complete its task. Need can be calculated by max minus allocation. Max minus allocation. Total need of the resources presently allocated, so that maximum how many available. This is the safety algorithm. Let work and finish the vectors of length m and let work and finish the vectors of length m and n respectively. Work is equals to available, finish is equals to finish of I is equals to false for I to 1, 3 n. Find an I such that both finish need less than is equal to work. If no such exists, go to step 4. Work is equals to work plus allocation. Finish of I is equals to true. Go to step 2. Here find an I such that both finish of I is equals to false. Need of I less than or equal to work. Then the system is